Talk to me. I'm talking. Mm. Hey Sylvester. Hey Marissa. Hey Winston. Good night. Mm. Oh, thank you. Um, so for those of you who don't know, my paternal, hey Ming Ming, grandmother passed away yesterday. Um, she was sick for a little bit. So, hey Dolores, and yeah, thank you Ming Ming. So that would be, like I said, my paternal grandmother. So she would be my auntie Luzette's mother. She had um my uncle Errol, auntie Luzette, auntie Adrien, uncle Bowen, my father, and my auntie Dolly. Some persons would know her as Nurse King, some would know her as Dolly, some would know her, but well, whatever name, I don't know. Um, yes, some more information than what I posted. As you could tell, she was a woman who loved to laugh and very firm, but um, loved children. Did I say love to laugh? And of course, very forthright. So I have two grandmothers, and I could tell you, you don't want to, or you didn't want to. I don't know how to, what verb to use now, but um, you don't mess with my grandmothers. Neither of them. They would chop you up with their tongue. Thank you, Sylvester. Okay, so those of you who are on the page, I would see your name. And those of you who are commenting from the central spot, I won't see your name unless you give Facebook permission to share your name. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Winston. So, the first person on here to express condolences, I can't see your name. Um, and that's why. Okay, so share the live. Let's get tonight going. I guess there are people who still be looking to sit um, on my page. I am not going to be sharing the lives on my page. Um, should I? Um, let me see if I could. Yeah, I want to get this live off of my personal page. Yeah. Thank you. Whoever said looking nice there, thank you. Dun, 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 dun. Oh God. No, Sylvester, I start at 8:30. I don't start at 8. Kenson starts at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. But I start at 8:30 because I like to make sure that I get my daughter off to sleep and you know all them things first. So I don't start at 8 o'clock, darling. I start at 8:30. Hey Annette, so help me. Share a live, tag a friend. Thank you, Mr. Querishan. So those who are on my page waiting would know, you know, we're not over this, so we're over here, so. Do. Yes, Dolores, mommy duties first, especially when you're a single parent. Hey Preston, good evening. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Marcel. And don't forget to like the page, please. Like the page. Let's get the likes up. It's at 552 now and 822 following. That's a good number, but we want the likes up. Ah, well, you see, Sylvester, you got the notification because you like the page. There's some persons who are coming on the live, they're not liking the page, and then they're going to be inboxing me, asking me anything tonight, anything tonight. Yes, there'll be something tonight. You have to check the page because it's really difficult to respond to everybody. I have a phone. Let me show you something with the phone. I don't know if you could see the phone properly, But anyways, can you see the phone screen? The phone screen has a crack there, right? So you see the crack? You can see the crack? Can you see the crack? You can't really see crack. Anyways, the phone screen has a crack. So the phone does whatever it wants to do. So just take for instance somebody messaged me, you too. And I'm like, hmm? The phone sent the person a greeting. I'm not even joking. The phone sent somebody a Chinese New Year greeting. My phone did that. Another time this week, I woke up and I'm seeing myself being tagged in responses on I think it was SVG buy and sell. And I'm like, what the hell? The phone they asking, asking if some bag available, land bag. I mean the bag look good. If I could buy the bag, give me, I'll take it. Hey. But and yeah, I saw the bag and I thought the bag was cute. It's a really decent bag for a teacher or somebody who carries around things. But I didn't ask anything. The phone decided to ask if the bag is still available. And then some woman now decide that she going to come. What? She hope when I buy the bag, I stay out of my neighbor. Come on, listen, what this girl hearing about me? What she really know about me? But I had to sort her out. I just told her plain, learn to drink water and mind the business. Too much people out here not minding the business. Sylvester, the phone has a mind of its own and it has a means of getting things done. So anybody, if you see me calling you any hours in the night, or you see any strange messages from me, I tell you the phone send the person a Chinese New Year greeting. That was the hottest thing ever. If you say anything like that, know for a fact it is not me, it is the phone. It is the phone. It's a good thing no back and I on the phone because the phone would have done sell me out. Rebuke those things, Preston. Rebuke those things. Rebuke them. Mm. Okay, so let me check to see what's going on. I just put a message on my page. So hopefully people who are there waiting on my page would see that. It's a bit difficult trying to maneuver all spaces, but at the end of the day, I guess people would see what is what. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Copy link and let me go back to my. You see, this is a problem with this. I need y'all to help me out here because then I have to spend time doing this myself. You know, and that is just a little too tedious. Dun, dun, dun. No, I don't want this. Let me save that here. Okay, so first of all, let me start talk about this whole Tarmac Academy and this flea infestation business. Hey, Anne Marie, I'm not too bad at all. No, a couple of weeks ago, I said to y'all plainly, them trying to moving out to that place anytime soon. I wonder if people understand that the government is claiming to have spent millions on those buildings. No, my phone was never in police hands, and if the police were to have stolen my phone, had they stolen my phone the way they stole Kenson's phone, I wasn't taking it back. I was not taking it back. Hey, Father Jones, thank you very much, sir. Had police taken my phone, I was not going to take it back from them to have it on me or to even be using it. That was not going to happen. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, they're sure not moving on to that school anytime soon. The government is claiming to have spent millions of dollars on those schools. We can't see the millions, but everything that they do is a million. This is 1.5, 3.5. Everything is some kind of $1 million something. So they claiming, thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. How could plywood on concrete cost that much? How? Only Ralph could make them kind of things happen. Only Ralph and Julian and the rest thieving ones of them could tell me that plywood on concrete came up to that kind of money. And then now we're getting to understand that they didn't really treat this out. These places, these structures weren't properly treated, and that soil around that school wasn't properly treated, so that stray dogs and everybody could just roll in. And then what about the security? What about the security? And about sometime when was it last month? I told y'all that the flooring already started to cave in. So explain to me, how is it after spending millions of dollars, you coming now, your flooring caving in, and the place overrun by fleas? Now you see that whole situation with the fleas is either you're looking at it on the surface level, or you're really and truly looking at that situation. You know what it is in 2022 to have children going home with fleas on them? In 2022, children going home with fleas. Fleas. Just now we will send them home with lice. And after lice, we'd have people walking around with chigger in the foot. And they will have to sit down and soak and dig out the chiggers in it before they go to school. You know what all of those are signs of? I wonder if you all really and truly understand what those things are signs of. Now, for my students and for others who would have studied the book or read the book To Kill a Mockingbird, which was set during the Great Depression, one of the things that plagued the people back then was lice. Right here in St. Vincent and in some poor countries in Africa, sugar was a really big problem. Amongst whom? Amongst poor people who walked barefoot. Now, here we are in 2022, right? And some of you convinced that St. Vincent and Grenadines is the most developed that it has ever been. But yet, you have children going home with fleas. Fleas. Fleas, innit? Fleas. There is a sign of backwardness. It's a sign of poverty. It's a sign, and not just poverty as in dollars, but poverty of mind. Because if you're building a school there, it means simply that a proper environmental study wasn't done and proper things weren't put in place to keep those school buildings safe. Because the stray dogs didn't just pop up. Had they done a proper environmental study, they would have known that there were stray animals around the area. And let's go back. Because when you do an environmental study too, you want to find out what caused that. So why do we have all these stray dogs in this area that could infest an entire school with fleas? Till Hot 97 and others putting up video with children with fleas on their skin. Where do those animals come from? Where? Now, we had a volcanic eruption less than a year ago, right? Listen to something. The government knew months before that the volcano was going to erupt. Months before. What did they do? Nothing. Even the morning when they were told to evacuate people, they did nothing. Nothing. When we got the notice to evacuate, as in when people over the river got the notice to evacuate, the government had that notice hours before. And that's why I see when y'all want to talk about, oh, Professor Robinson this and Professor Robinson that, I don't sing no praise. I don't. You could praise him as much as you want to praise him. You could praise the UE team for as much as you want to praise it, UE team. I respect that. That's up to you. But I don't. I can't pay him that kind of homage at all. I cannot do it because people's lives were in danger. And the only thing that Ralph and the others came out to tell people was to go to get vaccinated in order to get an evacuation center. Now, yeah, there's a chain of command, yeah, there's a hierarchy, whatever the case is, but you have family here too. And you want to tell me, you know that people have to leave. You know it. And you couldn't yourself leak something to the press to say, well, okay, people need to get out here. Your prime minister is senile and people need to get out. Now, had he done something like that, I would have respected him. I want to show some respect for him, but I don't have any. I don't have any. So going back to the point now. So they knew that they had to evacuate people. What does the government do? What does the Minister of Agriculture do? Nothing. They talk about, oh, they're gonna create pens or whatever thing they're gonna create down on the tarmac so that the farmers could save their animals. Psh, nothing. People had to run, literally run for their lives, thanks to the senile prime minister and his wicked cabinet. Okay, Arthur Pumpy, just fund my campaign. And where you gonna put Philip? Hmm? Philip is also a decent character for no for Mariko, you know. So yes, people had to run for their lives. The same bus drivers are neglected in Georgetown and Carlisle kind of things who had to get up and go over the river to save people, you know. Them is who had to go save people, you know. Even though the prime minister they have say, oh, they're ready. Even though Nemo said that they're ready. Okay? But I want to focus on the animals. Farmers didn't have time to secure the animals. And they didn't have anywhere to secure the animals. So they had to just leave and go. Leave and go. Hey, Pops, leave and go. Other people in the area lost dogs too because they couldn't feed them. Look, Nemo still had the food and them lock up. Food that came in to help Vincentians during the hurricane, sorry, not hurricane, after the volcanic eruption, still under lock and key. Thanks to Nemo and thanks to Ralph. And all this sit down and watching all this wickedness and say nothing. So some people let go their animals and some people lost their animals. So obviously the strays would increase. Now, not all animals got a visa to go to America. They didn't all get a visa to go to America. So it meant that some stayed here. And there was no concerted effort on the part of your Minister of Agriculture, Sabota Caesar, nor the government to round up these animals and to get them somewhere. So they just bought the place. Because what animals would do is that they would go to the safest spot. So obviously, the strays down on this lower end would increase. And that is why it's almost every week we see a dead dog on the Villa Road or Fountain Road or wherever road. It's almost every week we meeting a dead dog. And here they got, well, I can't say good thing. Here the thing about this, you meet the dead dog the Monday, you're going to meet it Tuesday, you're going to meet it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Look, you're going to meet that dog on the road until the dog is nothing but fur. And you have how many ministers passing that dog in the morning? Because they have how much of them live out on the windward side. How many of them live out on the windward side, passing whatever animal every single morning? But then they come along and they tell you, oh, we're on the cusp of an economic takeoff, tourism ready to go. Arthur Pompey, I love your confidence. I love your confidence. It's no secret that I have interest to run for constituency, but we'll have to do everything in in what? In good measure, in good season, and with everything disciplined and arranged. But thank you very much for the vote of confidence. I appreciate it. Yeah, Mr. Robinson, some of the dogs went to Florida, but some of them stayed here. The majority stayed here. Person, I don't know why it's so difficult. I really don't know. Part of it is that he understands the way they work. He understands the Vincentian psyche, and he understands that many people here, you give them a little money, and they just sing it to you. They either one sing the tune outright, or two, they remain quiet and allow him to do what he's doing. And you see, those who remain quiet and simply allow him to do what he's doing, I find them to be the worst set. Them the worst set because they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They could be a supervisor, a manager, a CEO, a permanent secretary, a principal. You don't know. You don't know. But they just get to find out though. So yeah, there's some butchers around there. Yeah, there's some butchers around there. And I guess the dogs go there for the scrap and so forth. That's probably it also. And again, had a proper environmental study been done, these are all things that would have been considered. Okay, so you have a butcher in the area. How is he cleaning? And I'm not saying that these people are cleaning their keeping their places untidy, but when you're doing an environmental study, you don't want to ask these things. You don't want to find out about ACE and what they're doing with their waste. You don't want to find out what's in the area, whoever is in the area, how are they dealing with their waste, what is going into the river. All of these things will be considered if you're doing a proper environmental study before you put the school there. But this wasn't done. This wasn't done. It was a simple thing. Shut down grammar school, shut down high school, put them on the tarmac. Put them on the tarmac. And look, the heavens forbid that we get a serious piece of hurricane here during the hurricane season. Them children will have to make boat and float home. Because we know if it's one place that gets flooded, is E.T. Joshua. If there's one place in St. Vincent and Grenadines that gets flooded, is E.T. Joshua. So anyhow we see a serious piece of rain come down in this country here, and them children in school, look, you go follow children. As a matter of fact, if all this rain start to come and rain now ease up, stop waiting for Ministry of Education to put out notice to say, oh, no school today. I find, hey Erica, I find that you and many of you like to do that too much. You sit down and wait. And you come on Facebook, any school today? You idiot. You see place outside the flooded and you ask if any school today. What? Your child is a dinghy? Hmm? Your child made from rubber? Or you have a spare one? You have to decide. You have to decide. Look, school open. You know where my child was? At home. Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't see how you can be forcing these children in these crowded classrooms and then you want to tell people, oh, COVID numbers on the increase. So my child stayed at home. And by the Thursday, her school was shut down. COVID. And now they're back face to face and online. And my child will stay at home. Because as y'all put it, they go fall behind. But guess what? Me rather she be behind and alive than anything else. And I keep asking you this question. Who are your children falling behind of in these times? Who? It's a pandemic, which means the entire world is being affected, has been affected, is being affected, will be affected. But you're talking about your child is going to be behind. Behind who? Who exactly the child going to be behind? Tell me. Who? So you as parents, you have to decide what is best for your child. Nobody can't tell you that. That is for you to decide. So you have your children now going to school to come home with fleas. This is a situation where the Parents Teachers Association should have been outside that school demanding that the school be shut down. The schools be shut down. Because I keep asking this question. Is it that the only, and mind you, they didn't fumigate GHS over the weekend, eh? Apparently it's the day before they fumigated. Now, question is, Are they only fumigating the JHS or are they fumigating grammar school as well? And exactly where are they fumigating? Because if you're fumigating just the yard or where these fleas were there in the yard or whatever the case is, it come like the same how we just treat the mosquitoes. Where we go around, we smoke out this area, and I love to laugh about this, But in my mind, when they come and they smoke out this area, the mosquitoes don't just fly and go somewhere else and wait. So in my mind, when they go and play dealing with these fleas, whatever they're doing, fumigation, I don't know what they're doing. When they go deal with these fleas, who says so many fleas and them they'll jump and go somewhere else and wait until wherever gone. So are they only treating GHS or they treating grammar school too? And are they only treating outside or are they treating inside the buildings as well? Because it makes no sense to me you treat outside alone and then treat it inside. I would love to know who went to Dubai. I didn't see anything officially released. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything, Michelle. But I'll try to find out. I'll try to find out. I'll try to find out who went to Dubai and what they went to Dubai too. Mm. Guys, I'll probably give some of his girlfriends trips. Tell him I say so. So my since intentions would only listen to hard and bad mind. They'll be their own demise. And sadly true. So yeah, the PTAs should have been out demanding that those schools, both schools, grammar school and high school, be properly treated. And don't tell me that's a one-off thing because again, we're treating these things just the way we treat the mosquitoes. We forget that after you deal with this set of mosquitoes, hey, you have eggs and wherever else waiting to come up. And it's the same thing with these fleas. When you deal with the mature ones, you have the baby ones waiting to come up. So it has to be a systematic treatment. So I don't understand. They go they spray wherever today and then tomorrow turn back in school. So who shall sit down and inhaling all of these things if the place was properly treated? And again, parents would tell you, oh, well, the ministry said that they could come back to school. The ministry just pay your child hospital bill. The ministry just pay your child hospital bill. That's what I want to know. Because if the ministry pays your child's hospital bill, then it could tell me that the ministry say and the ministry ain't say. Those of you who are thinking, and again, these are children who, um, well, for the majority, their parents are educated. For the majority, their parents would have passed through secondary school. The majority. And these are people who have doctors and lawyers and accountants and bank managers and permanent secretaries, some um, ministers of government, even whoever, they're children out there too. And you want to tell me that none of these people could sit down and say that what is being done out there is dotishness? Because what? If you speak out, you're gonna make Ralph look bad. Ralph don't look bad. Ralph don't look bad. Ralph say plywood and cement cost millions of dollars. It don't look bad. Don't look bad. The children gone home with fleas. Ralph don't look bad. Don't look bad. And yeah, the fleas and them is Ralph's fault. Because if it is that the children them went out there and they had planted a garden and they were growing cucumbers and whatever else, he would have reached and he would have said, and he who helped them to do that. So let him take the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let him take the good, the bad, and the ugly because he like for riding for praise. So let he ride in and claim the fleas and them to his fleas. Let him ride in and let him claim the fleas. And as a matter of fact, he should give each of them a name. He should give every single one of them a name. He love for name people. So let he ride in there and give the fleas and them a name and carry them home go meet Eloise. Hey, Michael. Michael, we need to talk. We need to talk. Now, the other thing that caught my attention this week. No, Preston, no work has started on grammar school, no work has started on high school. So that whole temporary situation is not very temporary. Let me explain to you what's going to happen there. You see this? Come, if we don't get rid of this government here in 2022, if we sit down and allow them to push every single person out of a job and beat down on us and beat down on us, then close to 2025 when it's time to campaign, the school will finish. And they would mount a platform and they would say, "Oh, we just built you two brand new schools. Watch them." Or the schools still will not be finished, and then they will say, "And here now, when we finish building grammar school and we finish building high school, they're going to have a swimming pool and a helicopter landing pad." And Vincent just going screaming, "Yay!" And then when they re-elect him now, he'll come and he go say, "Why would I put a helicopter landing pad on a school when you have a hospital that doesn't even have one? And why would I put an Olympic sized swimming pool right there? Right there." And Vincent just would sit down and some of them would shut up and the Ralph fights and the minions and whoever else they go say, "But I expect the man to do that. How I expect the man to do them kind of thing, them thing they could do." Mind you know, them would have vote for it for the elections too. Eh? But anyhow we see Ralph spin, them just spin too. I don't understand these Ralph fights. If Ralph come today and Ralph says to them, "The sky is purple," all I'm going to jump on the sky is purple. And let Ralph come tomorrow and say, "Oh shucks, the sky blue." They will turn back, "The sky blue, the sky blue look purple twice, eh?" Mm. That's where we are. That's where we are. So them schools come close to elections of 2025. If we waste time with this government, if we waste time with this government, those things will come selling points. It's either they going to hurry do them until they finish two brand new schools, or they're going to show some kind of fancy plan. Like how they keep showing fancy plan for the airport over and over and over. And up to now we can't, not the airport, sorry, the hospital. And up to now we can't see the hospital. They will come with some fancy plans for the schools too. I will never see them. Maxine, this whole country is a comedy skit. When you look at St. Vincent and you look at the things that people are putting up with and listen to what people are saying or what Ralph is saying, the country is a comedy skit. The whole of St. Vincent is like Saturday Night Live, except we have a senile prime minister. And I will not stop saying that Ralph Gonsalves is senile because, as far as I'm concerned, Ralph Gonsalves is senile. If Ralph Gonsalves is not senile, Ralph Gonsalves is stone mad. And I told you all my reason for saying this. If Ralph could have a matter before the court to say me stop he from entering parliament, that's a senile man. That is a senile man. Senile. He either senile or he crazy. And either way, Ralph Gonsalves is not fit to be Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines. Something wrong with his brain. Ralph has a case before the court right now. I am due to go back to court in March. In March. I, Adriana King, according to what that document says, stopped Ralph Gonsalves from entering Parliament. Me. Done crazy people? Ain't that any one of you could listen to that and then not conclude this man is senile? And it's afraid, the people them in cabinet afraid for telling me senile. Afraid. And they would leave him out here to make a mock of this country and do whatever he pleases and continues to embarrass himself. And I'm glad he went back on this show with Crystal. I'm glad he went back because again it shows how senile he is. I keep saying to y'all now, the only thing that is guiding Ralph Gonsalves right now is his ego. That is the only part of his brain that is working. His ego. No other part of the man's brain is working except mostly for the part that put one foot in front of the next. That's it. But he, right now, all of his decisions, anything that man does is guided primarily by ego. That's it. Ego. Crystal to put up with plenty. I wish Maxine that she could do a little bit more research. So that when he comes with his BS, you hit him fast. You don't even wait. Just hit him with the facts. Because one of the things that every journalist must know is that you don't ever ask a question for which you don't know the answer. Always ensure that the questions you ask, you have the answers. And so, based on what they say, you could hit them again. And I guess that is something for anybody in general who does that sort of thing for a living. Ask the questions for which you know the answer. So you could hit them and hit them hard. But she did well. Did far better than many of these so-called journalists out here who whenever he pops up, they're like, oh, yes, Prime Minister. You ever hear Johnny P and Calvin and 705? Yes, Prime Minister. Okay, Prime Minister. Yes, Prime Minister. Yes, Prime Minister. And then he was so Calvin, yes, Prime Minister, that's true. Johnny P and they said it. Yes, Prime Minister. So Crystal did far better than many of these radio announcers who we have here. Now, back to what I was saying then. True, you don't allow your guests to control the show. Um, mhm. Yeah, you don't ever. You have to guide them, and because you have to know act as moderator as well as interviewer. So it's a lot of balancing that takes place there. Good. So wrap this up. The man is now case closed. Okay. And if y'all want to see the schools completed, I want to see the parents out on the line demanding that work start on the schools in Kingstown so that their children could go to somewhere safe. Let me see which parent is going to lead that. Let me see which parent of GHS or grammar school is going to hit the streets, hit the radio, hit the newspapers, wherever, and demand that work start on the schools in Kingstown so that his or her child could go to somewhere safe. I want to see which one of them going to do it because none of them ain't going to do it, and the teacher's not going to do it either. So all of them will sit down out there and eat fleas. That's what they would do. They would sit down there and they would eat fleas because when they go back to school again, it gonna be more fleas. If they don't shut down that place for at least 2 weeks so that they could kill everything, it's not going to make any sense. And talking about killing everything, let me just mention this. Lennox King keeps talking about whatever it is that they use to kill the mosquitoes. And A number of people on his page have been talking about it too. That not only are they killing mosquitoes, they're killing our pollinators. They're killing our bees, our butterflies, our jack spaniels, everything being killed. Y'all remember we had a volcanic eruption last year, right? Y'all remember that we under, well, going through effects of a pandemic. hmm It means that food supplies are dwindling and we're killing our pollinators. We're actively killing our pollinators. Where is your Minister of Agriculture in all of this? Where is your Minister of Health in all of this? Between your Minister of Agriculture and your Minister of Health and your senile Prime Minister, none of them could find a proper way to get rid of this dengue mosquito. So they kill the mosquito and they kill everything else, and then we're going to sit down here and have a barren land. Are we going to wait until the next what 5 6 months when we realize that okay, the bees flying around here, and then now we will have to go and do what, artificially pollinate them ourselves? So Sarah says, is sports more important to them? Sports have to be more important to them in truth, because all I've been seeing is sports update. Mm? I see all kind of Facebook status and thing going up about sports and sports and sports. Me ain't see nobody concerned about the fleas. I ain't just so concerned about the fleas. All I see is Facebook status and sports. So let the flea and them yam them out. Let them yam them. Yes, Sarah. You see what you're gonna do here now? You see what you're gonna do? So back to the whole issue of the pollinators. We obviously need a better way to kill these mosquitoes, because number one, we're not even using the chemical in an effective way to kill the mosquitoes. Let me explain. Like I said earlier, if you're looking to kill these mosquitoes, you can't spray now and then come back next month and spray again or smoke out. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to consider the life cycle of whatever creature it is that you're trying to kill. So if you're trying to kill mosquitoes, well, you have to kill the adults, and you have to understand that there might be some eggs at that point. So when would the eggs hatch? Let's use the word hatch, man. So you have to think about that. So when were you going to get the larvae? All right. So you have to kill those. And you might have some full grown mosquitoes by then too. So you have to kill those again. So you have to ensure you do the thing in a systematic way, a well thought out method, not a random spray and a random spray that ain't working. Because all you're going to be killing every time are just the adults who happen to stick around. Those who hear you or see you coming and decide to fly over to the next community until you're gone, you don't get them. You get the old people, the old ones stay by, who can't fly too fast, or the very young ones. That's my thinking. So please, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Health, I'm not gonna apply appeal to your senior Prime Minister because not functioning. Try to do something better, because y'all are putting us in a situation where we might not get anything to eat from these grounds. Or we might have to start importing bees, like how we importing bay leaf. I saw a sign on Sign Hill that said something about buying 100% local or something. So, and I look at this and I'm saying to myself, how stupid is this? When I was in Barbados in 2001, me telling you, 2001, Sabota was there, so he could tell you about this. There, and any Bajans on this live could tell you about this. There was a whole drive, 100% Bajan, 100% Bajan. Everything was 100% Bajan. You go down to we call it Julian's. You go to Chefette. anything 100% Bajan. They were pushing people to buy 100% Bajan, which meant that local products were being pushed. But here the problem with St. Vincent now. You're telling people to buy 100% Vincentian or Vinci, whatever the slogan says. But stick up and sign Hill, and I guess, yeah, everybody go sit when they come in all the living Kingston. But when you're telling a man to buy 100% Vinci, but yet you're bringing in bay leaf. Just now we go start for import mango. Hmm? You bringing in bay leaf into the country. You're supposed to put a ban on certain things. If you're trying to promote local industry, you need to put a ban on certain things. That is very possible, Preston. You probably have some immune mosquitoes. Or Maxine, don't talk about those videos from Brand. Don't talk about those. But yeah, if you're trying to get people to buy 100% Vinci, then they're supposed to stop or limit the importation of certain products. People are bringing chicken from Barbados. We happen to the place out Dunbarton that shut down, or that's a friends and family business. Could anybody explain to me what is happening to the chicken place out Dunbarton? How they're working out? Or is that just for labor rights? Because they had local poultry farmers say who can't get anything from out Dumbarton. So somebody, could you please explain to me what's happening out there? You can't be telling me 100% Vinci when you're not helping local producers and local farmers. You talk about prime, or you're gonna give out some money, you're gonna give out some money. That is not how you develop local business. Because some of these people, they don't have business sense. They have a product. The product will sell, but they don't understand basic things like pricing, for instance. Some of them don't understand how to market their products. So when you come up with a product like, project like Prime, and you forget places like the Center for Enterprise Development, I don't even know if that still exists, to be honest, because since my mother left them, my mother was made redundant. How much years ago? I don't follow up with them. No, you have a place, or might have a place, I don't know. You're supposed to be teaching people how to keep their businesses alive. It's okay, Hope. It's okay. You have to teach people how to keep their business alive, how to keep proper accounting, how to market their product, how to seek new markets, how to label their product, how to, um, like I say, price. Not just keep them money. And then you have to follow up. You have to make this thing something that is accountable, and something that they could be accountable of. We know last elections, enough prime grants giveaway in Glen. I'm not saying it. It was printed in the newspapers. And if you see Camilla running in England, East St. George, and I see prime like prime giving away in East St. George, would that be? As far as I'm concerned, that's an election bribe. That was not meant to actually fuel any sort of industry. Because if it was meant to fuel industry, proper things would have been put in place and we would have accountability now. How is it we don't know who got money in Glen and wherever else and what they've been doing with their money? How is it we don't know this? But y'all sit down, y'all tolerate all of these things. Just like how all they tolerate Ashel and Kareem and Casper the Ghost going and shooting Mr. John and then getting away scotch free. And then some of you have the audacity to come on Facebook and talk about, oh, um, Ashel and them get away. See, I mean, no criminal. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a criminals. As far as I am concerned, they are criminals. because they went and they shot Mr. John, and Ralph Gonsalves helped them to cover it up. He and the Commissioner of Police, Colin John. That's why I see all the butch up in the investigation. You know how much what medical documents disappearing and reappearing. Oh, police. And I must sit down and say that they're not criminals, they're criminals. They might not have been convicted. And we know why they weren't convicted, and we know they weren't going to be convicted. No, I didn't say a lady got sell prime to sell plums. So a guy got prime to do a gardening business. I heard he went and he got equipment, and that was the end of that. The equipment just go wherever the equipment go. So Curtis saying when I attended the SVG Tech, we did a course called Small Business Management that taught how to use our skills to become self-employed. There you go. So why not ensure that these people who are getting a prime go into a course like that? I don't know if it still exists, but who knows? But the whole thing with Ashel and them now, here comes a young army lad, and he gets sentenced to, I think, was a year and some in prison because he had a gun under his seat. And it's very strange that, police decided to pull him over and search him, which gives you the impression that somebody might have tipped off the police that he had this weapon. Am I saying that it's okay for him to have the weapon? No. Am I saying that the judge was unduly harsh? No. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is this. You have Ashel Karim and Casper the Ghost go and shoot a whole man in his whole foot, and they're walking around here like nothing. Ashel Morgan, Kareem Nelson, and Casper the Ghost, what the man name? I can't remember his name now. Went on Mr. John's property, shot him in his leg, call Ralph and tell Ralph, well, we just shoot a man there, what for do? And Ralph comes on read, and he tells you, oh, people out here talking about how women should defend women and women should this. And look, you have a woman defending another woman, and everybody down on she case. Admittance of guilt. In other words, they went and shoot the man to protect this woman. So if Ralph could come on the radio and tell you that they went and shoot the man, and then we reach in court now, and a whole heap of butcher, so that Ralph doesn't come on the stand. So he doesn't come on the stand to say what I shall call him to tell him. And all of this is well planned, and all of this is well staged. And then here comes the soldier boy now, and he has a gun under his seat. He ends up in jail. But Carrie Marshall and Casper the Ghost are walking around free. Free. Hey, Auntie Margaret. Ashel, Kareem, and Casper walking around free. And this guy gets a year and some for having a gun under his seat. He not shoot nobody in the foot. He didn't call Ralph to ask Ralph to cover up anything for him. Ralph didn't put anything in motion to cover up anything for him. So you see, he ended up in jail. And the point of the matter is, in our society, nobody is supposed to be above the law. But hey, you have a prime minister who admitted to sexual assault in a police officer who claimed that he raped her. He ain't in jail. No, no, no. He is not in jail. Mm-mm, mm-mm. He not in jail. Instead, he out here telling police to lock my tail up and claiming I stop he from entering parliament. That's all I have out here. That's why all I have out here. You have a prime minister out here who sending police to raid people's home under the guise of looking for gun and what documents and whatever. Because apparently there's a group of people who sent a police officer to assassinate him. And I would say a police officer because nobody in the crowd hit Ralph. But a soul in the crowd hit Ralph. Ralph ended up with a scrape on his head. A scrape that had to have come from one of the police officers around him when he was shouting. And who knows, must he scrape himself? Because if you're on this side, must he scrape himself? When he been bawling, shield, and he take him, he thing and hit himself in the head. Must he scrape himself? That must have been a self-inflicted injury. Coming to think about it. His hand went to his head first, and he was there bawling, but shield. So if his hand is already on his head bawling shield, that looks like a self-inflicted injury. Hmm, hmm, interesting. Interesting. Hope God is already dealing with this country here. You see how much plagues? Hmm? You see how much plagues falling on this country, and Vincentians still would not open their eyes. Plague after plague after plague. The biggest plague being Ralph. And just like Pharaoh, Ralph is hardening his heart. You want a modern day Pharaoh? Look him there. Look him there. And until we hold him accountable for all the nasty things that he has been doing in this country here, the country will continue to suffer. Our development will continue to be lower than everybody else in the region. Now we have this lawyer the other day saying, oh, if Ralph, did he say Ralph or did he say the government? He might have said Ralph. I don't know if he said Ralph or not. I really don't care. But he said, um, basically that things would have been far different had this been a country like Haiti, because we saw what Haiti did, what was done in Haiti with the presidents there, not just this one, when they don't like what's going on. Somebody took that up. And I'm glad that they wrote the article, because if you're going to read the comments on the article, you realize that Vincent ain't falling for them kind of trippiness anymore. Because in my mind, I'm saying to myself, all right, if you're to say that had this been Haiti, Ralph could not have done or could not have been doing what he's doing now, because he would have been literally fearing for his life. Are we going to throw out our history books from schools? Because when Chatouillet went after the Europeans, I know he didn't take them any tea. I know he ain't dig up no piece of yam and say, come, let go cook them some oil down, some boiling, get a piece of fish and do whatever. I know it's not feed, he went to feed the Europeans. It's kill, he went to kill them. That's how he protected this land, by killing the people who came in who are trying to take over. So, if it is that we're going to turn this country in a full communist state and start to erase our history from the books, let me know. Let me know. Because it seems as though that is where we're inching towards. That little tyrant all you have sit down. He had prime minister now. He going one look in the history books and say, well, um, you see these things that y'all teaching people about protecting Hyrule and about Chatier killing people. You'd have to take that out of the syllabus. You would have to take that out of the syllabus. And anything to do with uprisings on plantations, whether it's in the US, the Caribbean, or wherever, take that out too. That chapter can't be taught in schools. The Black Panthers in America, I know me and talking about Wakanda. I talk about the real Black Panthers. I would tell all about me and this Black Panthers movie, you know. When I heard about this thing, I really thought was a movie on the Black Panthers. There was, you know, some cartoon thing. Anyways. Ah, the Bible too. So yeah, we have to be very, very careful with the things that we allow this sinful man to get away with. Because we already know that the fools that sit at the Ministry of Education will do whatever he tells them to do. So when you go and the child come home and the child don't understand who Shattery is, or you end up in jail because you sit down and you talk about Shattery and you talk about the valley and you talk about oh my goodness, Toussaint and all these people that you can't teach about them anymore. Then you know we're gone. We're gone as a nation. We're totally gone as a nation. And we're at the point where democracy doesn't exist anymore. And we end up like a little North Korea because the supreme Sinai leader would be offended if you talk about rebellion, if you talk about killing oppressors. These are part of our history. These are things that made us who we are. Chatier is our national chief because Chatier killed Europeans who tried to take over this country. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Chatier didn't put on no little miniskirt and no little, we call it, French made uniform or whatever it is, and went over there to serve tea. That's not what he did. He didn't go to mow their lawns or to sweep their yards or to take care of the children. That's not what he did. That's not how he fought. That's not how he fought to liberate this country. So anybody who got offended with the lawyers saying plainly that had St. Vincent been a country like Haiti, Ralph couldn't get away with what he was doing or what he is doing, read your history, please. Go read your history, please, and understand how you taking offense to such a statement puts our democracy at risk. That is what you need to understand. You taking offense to such a statement puts our democracy at risk because now you're looking to do anything to please the supreme leader. And we have a supreme leader in this country who is a man. None. And that's why I'm glad they burn down the posters and them. I'm glad. And if you ain't glad, that's your business. Me glad. And I'm glad for what? I wish they get the other one too. But I'm glad that one with his face come down. I glad. I'm registering it right here. Me glad. You not glad? That's not your business, but me glad. Them should have done that a long time. A long time. Because you have a commissioner of police who only know when to enforce the law, who break it. So Colin John now see them posters there. I know that elections done and them posters they could come down. Colin John don't have balls enough to go to Ralph and say, Ralph, take down them posters, the election's gone. That is your commissioner. And he nice if I forgot for Ralph to tell Ralph that he's commissioner of police. All Colin John needs to do is to send out the police, and then like how he love for send out police who beat up on protesters, send the police to take them down. But Colin John is a wuss. Don't worry, I've told him this to his face up at CID. Don't worry about that. I told him plainly up in CID that he's the worst commissioner ever and that he's an idiot. So wherever I see this, wherever I see on this live, I don't tell Colin to his face. So don't worry about that. Whatever you hear me saying about Colin, or you see me write on Facebook about Colin, is because I don't tell Colin so to his face. He's a wuss. Had he not been a wuss, them posters they would have been down. They would have been down. But you see, his supreme leader on the poster, and he know that if he only go try for do his work as a police, it might be the last day he serves as police commissioner. Colin Johnny ain't had no backbone. I was gonna say he ain't had a belly, but not the kind of belly that is worth having. Take down the posters. With the posters I'm doing up still. Elections gone. Take them down. Nobody want to see you and your ugly face. Take them down. Every single one of them, take them down. And if people go and burn them down, I don't give two hoots because they should not be up. So if Colin don't want to move them and the people decide to move them, this is our country. And taking back this country has to start somewhere. It has to start somewhere. Is it freedom? People don't give you freedom, you know. You take it. People don't give you freedom. You take it. You think the slaves were given freedom? No, they had to fight. And again, here what? Not all of them fighting, because some of them are so afraid to leave the plantation that they so went and carried back secret to the slave owners. They so and carry back secrets. Just like how we have people now undermining the teachers union, undermining the public service union, undermining the nurses association, and running who carry secret to Ralph. Because Ralph promised them this and promising them that. It's the same thing is happening on the plantation. So I understand why people get frustrated when they don't see a big crowd on the protest line one time, but I understand why that doesn't happen. And when you understand why something doesn't happen, you don't fret over it, you try to change it. So I don't fret over them things. What I try to do is I try to remind people that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And I thank Charles Sampson for that quotation because the first time I read it was on a t-shirt or a jacket or something that he had printed when they were protesting in the UK. And I said, this is so profound. And that's why when I called in on Boom FM that morning, I said to Ralph plainly, I only have two things to tell you. And that was one of them. That the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And the second thing I told him is this. Anybody remember? Oh gosh, sorry. The second thing I told him was simple. You could imprison a rebel, but you can't imprison a rebellion. And he laughed, he tripped like, so Adrian is trying to say that she's a rebel. Ralph, me not try to say anything. You the one who's saying it. You the one who's saying it. Because when you're sending out people, when you send out your police to arrest and to harass citizens. You the one, you the one who's saying it. You the one who's saying that these are the people who you fear in your own senile mind. You the one who's saying that. When you stand up in parliament and every platform, and all you have to do is, oh, kings this and kings that. We live rent free in your mind. And yeah, addressing him directly because he had the people and them like Augustine and them who does get little tape for him and carry and play back give him. So you have to talk to him sometimes and tell him thing and them direct. Oh gosh, it's true, Rosalind. Rosalind said I was her mobiles and calling. And it's true. It is true. The one we have to take back this country here. And we have to take back this country in this year. Because the people out here who are losing jobs, who are losing homes, they don't have until 2025 for elections. They don't. And back to the whole issue of the protest. Some of these people don't come out on the protest line. And you know why? Ralph has ensured that he has killed most of the unions in this country here. Kill them. Teachers union barely surviving. Because even in the teachers union ranks, you have people who undermining the decisions of the union. Even in the teachers union ranks, you have teachers who are undermining the union. And these are the same teachers who come on Facebook and say, oh, what the union doing? What could the union do when you who's supposed to be trying to build it, trying to pull it down? And then the other thing too is that Ralph calls people and he makes promises to them. So for instance, he called a cousin of mine, tell him, and promise money for vaccine. If me lie from she. So he goes around and he promises this sector one thing. So nurses get promised of $500. So now they feel all right. If we talk, we don't get the $500. So let we be quiet. So they can't come out on a protest line anymore. They call a couple of teachers, a couple of principals, and they promise them a little move up, and they start beat down vaccine because they don't get a little promise. And that's what he's been doing for years. So many of the people know, many of us who have lost jobs and who have lost income and whatever the case is, we're out here waiting for him to call our phone to say, okay, you get this, you'll get that. And that's why you don't see people on the protest line as they should. Many have been just beaten into fear. Everybody's not an Adriana King. Everybody's not a Kenson King, a Lucette King. I don't know why these kings so. Well, I think I kind of know now. It's a kind of family thing to it. It's a kind of family thing. But you see them kings will tell you how it is. They don't hold back. They don't hold back. And they would stand. They would stand for what they believe in. Whether you believe it is your business. But you see them kings, once you see them decide on something, that's it, you know. That's it. So do I expect everybody out here to behave the way I behave? Do I expect everybody out here to be a Kenson? Don't. Because all the things that Ralph has dangled in front of our eyes never appealed then and won't appeal now. He was never able to buy me. He was never able to buy Kenson. And he wasn't ever able to buy my aunt. And he won't be able to buy us now. but they're those who he's bought. And he will be able to continue doing so if people don't start understanding that they're worth far more than what he dangles in front of them. Because what he dangles in front of us is nothing compared to what he gets out of it. And what he gets out of it. So you see him come and he promises this and he promises that. Hmm? Look, this Lavon Evans here now on my life. Lavon is a government messenger. Lavon is one of the persons out here who, if Ralph goes to the washroom, Lavon will be there to lick his butt clean for him. That's Lavon's duty. And so she goes around Facebook and she curses people. But ask her, how has her faithfulness developed her as a person? No, nothing. Still gutterish, still has nothing to add to a conversation. Nothing. But these are the people who Ralph is able to buy. These are the people who he's able to send on little errands. So don't expect that overnight the protest line is just going to be filled with people because we have a mission. We have to now remind people of their Chateauye spirits. We have to remind Vincentians that this land is theirs. It's ours. We're all first class citizens here, none better than the other, and we have to fight for it. We have to fight for this land because many of us cannot get past 2022 with this government. It won't happen. And, I'm glad that the opposition has been calling over and over again for people to get back their jobs. I am glad that Rise Haruna has risen and is demanding that people get back their jobs. I am glad that the teachers union is doing it, the public service union is doing it, everybody's doing it. And I will tell you this, for those of you who've been following the news, you would realize that in the UK, they've said that right now they're looking at pulling back the mandate for NHS workers. Now, a couple months ago, when we were telling y'all that nurses were leaving to go to the UK, you're like, oh, but they have to get vaccinated. And I kept saying no. Because I've had people who I know personally who've left here and gone to the UK, nurses, not vaccinated, still not vaccinated. But the government was supposed to implement a mandate. Now they're looking to pull it back. Now the question is, when the UK pulls back on this mandate, like other countries have been doing, where do you think that is going to leave Ralph? Where do you think that is going to leave him? We're all in the Commonwealth. We're all in the Commonwealth. But guess what? He now is going to try to prolong things. Because as he said to Chris, he's not bluffing. And that's why I keep saying to y'all, the man is senile. And the only thing that is driving him is his ego. That's it. But when you see that NHS mandate is pulled back, not only would I be winning a bet against Guevara, I hope you're listening and coming for it, but it would leave senile Ralph Gonsalves with nothing. Nothing. And even without it, because the mandates have been pulled back in many other countries, right now, he's grabbing at straws. Grabbing at straws. I wish we could turn up like the truckers turn up in Canada. But again, the political landscape in Canada is far different to the political landscape here in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Even so, if you were to compare 2022 to 2001, far different things. And as much as the Senate Prime Minister and the bandits in the cabinet would want you to think that things were so bad, I keep saying to y'all, under the NDP government, you had a situation where people were actually able to sing on government ministers without anybody trying to lock them up. Nobody came to lock them up and to search the house and say, oh, they have guns and whatever else. That wasn't happening. You had people in public offices who are not even supporting the government of the day. So the political atmosphere in 2001, you can't compare it to now. Students, young people had a voice in 2001 because we had the National Youth Council. Curtis King could tell you about that. Curtis could tell you about the National Youth Council. He come out of that. And that is why when Senator Israel Bruce asked the question about a youth development plan, the only thing Gustus could say was that the last youth development plan was developed by the New Democratic Party. Because under the New Democratic Party, young people had a voice. And not just a voice, a collective voice. Because the National Youth Council, not only were they invited to sit on national committees to make national decisions based on, on education and other things, they also helped to guide the student councils within schools. And so you had a situation where everybody was an active participant in the country's development, not just one senile man at the top. Not just one senile man at the top. Here now, you have a situation where everything has been killed. Every voice has been silenced. And that is why Ralph has a problem with me, with Kenson, with my aunt, with Nikisha, with Robbie, with Boucher, with anybody from civil society who continues to speak. He wants to understand why you still talking, why you don't fear me like the others. And he has a big problem with that. Because once you see people start understanding the power that we have when we band together, once you see people start understanding that, it's hell for Ralph. It's hell for Ralph, and he knows it. He was testing waters where you see he would come out again, ego. Why he would come out of his escort to go through a crowd that is anti him. Ego and wanting to intimidate people. That's it. And of course, the entire thing was staged to create havoc so that they could pass the bill. We know all of that was staged. But I repeat this, the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Always has been, and history continues to show us that. And it always will be. But like I said before, at the end of the day, you would have people who would die to remain on the plantation because Massa, Massa gives me yam and saltfish. And when Massa doesn't want his clothes, Massa gives me his clothes. And Massa allows me to sleep on the kitchen floor. Mhm. There are some people who will stay on the plantation because Massa gives them this and Massa gives them that, rather than get off the plantation, get a piece of land for themselves, build a house, get a little something going, and make life. Mm-mm. They're gonna stay on that plantation. And anybody who talks about leaving the plantation, watch them the first person run to tell Massa, Massa, they's be trying to leave. They's be having meetings. And they's be calling peoples and telling peoples that you's a bad massa. But massa, you's a good massa. I love you, massa. And I'm gonna stay with you, massa. Because this is the best country's ever been, massa. And they would do anything to stay on the plantation. I think it was Rosa Parks who said, that she could have saved so many more slaves. But they didn't know they were slaves. And it's not that they didn't literally know that they were slaves, but because they were given a little edge over the others, they felt special. They felt special. So like those here now who running around jumping up labor, 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 labor. You're going to shoot a man in the foot. And then you call Massa and you say, Massa, I shot him. Massa, I shot him. And Massa say, you don't worry. You don't worry. Just report to the plantation in the morning and I'll fix it for you. And so they feel it good. They feel it good. Or they're running around on a caravan or whatever else, and somebody walking in front of Massa, move in front of Massa. What are you walking in front of Massa for? Who are you to walk in front of Massa? And they cuss everybody because they know they're slaves. They don't know that they're slaves. And even without Massa calling them, oh, they shut up because they're the biggest slaves. And so you don't fight up with them people. You leave them on the plantation. You leave them on the plantation. And when the roofs of the plantation house cave in, then is when they start waking up. But by then it's too late. By then it's too late. Because the rest of the people who want freedom done gone. And Vincentians, you have to want freedom. You have to want freedom and you have to fight for freedom. Because when we look at our children in this country, we know the mouth hot. You have some children now come and tell you, I don't feel comfortable with you saying this, or with you, correcting me in front of my friends. It makes me feel embarrassed or whatever. Children these days come and tell you exactly what they feel. Sometimes it comes out very blunt and it seems as though it's disrespect, and it isn't. It's just I'm expressing what they feel. Could you imagine these children growing up under the sort of tyranny that Ralph Gonsalves is trying to create in this country? Could you imagine these children? Just picture it now. Picture you taking your son or your daughter, your grandchild or your granddaughter, your godchild or your goddaughter, and sending them to Korea. You think they're coming back? You think they're coming back? Picture you sending any of these children to Korea. Tell me if they're coming back. They ain't coming back. Because they're going to go there and they be like, Why all you have to dress like that? Hmm? What's wrong with you? Why you have to eat that? What's wrong with you? So why can't I draw on this wall? Hmm? I don't feel comfortable with you telling me that I have to go here at 9. No, 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 no. I will be going there at 10 o'clock when I'm comfortable. I don't feel comfortable going there now. The many children we have now, you could imagine these children growing up under this sort of society Ralph Gonsalves is trying to create in this country. No, please. No, please. A, all ignore this little slave lady here, please. Let her sit and curse. That's all. That is her use in the ULP, you know. That is her use. Her use is to curse. Just ignore her. Just ignore her. Yeah. So we have to fight for this country. We have to fight for this country. And we have enough signs to tell us that things aren't right. Enough. Look at the things that are happening here, one after the next, after the next, after the next. And you want to tell me that you're sitting comfortably, that these things are normal? Whether you believe in God or not, the fact is there is something in this space that isn't pleased with us. There is something in this space that's not pleased with the way we are treating ourselves and the way we're treating this country. We have to wake up. We have to wake up. Chatier didn't die for us to come years after. And you know the sad thing when I think about Chatier, one of the saddest things for me is the fact that we probably don't even know this man's name. Like we said Joseph Chatier because okay, that's what's been handed down. So, and then people ask the question, well, how come if his name was Joseph Chatier, we don't have anybody surnamed Chatier? A reasonable question. A reasonable question. Because the slaves, they would have got their surnames from plantation owners. Where have you seen Chatier anywhere in the world? Like any country, anybody with the surname Chatier? I've never seen it. So it begs the question. Hey, Petulia, night night. It begs the question, was Joseph Chatier really his name? Could his name have been Chatier Joseph? Because we certainly do have a lot of people here with the name Joseph. That's just me. That's just me. People like Dr. Adrian Fraser, Guevara, Deborah Providence. Yeah, Deborah calling your name. I know you're a historian, but I know you're quite well read on these things. Might be able to better explain that. But the fact remains, he didn't just die for us to give up on this country. And it's so sad that in 2022, as much as you want to talk about this country is so developed and everything is so fine and dandy underneath Ralph, that we don't even know our true history. Look, they found an entire village when they were digging the airport. You know what they did? Destroy it. They took out some artifacts. Ralph said he was going to send them overseas to be dated and documented and whatever the case is. We're still waiting on that. We're still waiting on that. An entire village unearthed. And many of you on this live right now know nothing about that. As a matter of fact, some of you wondering, oh, what you talking about? It was in the newspaper, and guess this? It was one of the tourism sites, and then they took it down. Because guess what? When they remove it now, nobody would remember it. There was also a YouTube video with it. I don't know if the YouTube video is still on, but I remember sharing it to thank you, Mel. Mel remembers. I remember showing it to Brayton Horn and some others a couple of years ago. An entire village was found. And according to them, what they were able to gather is that those persons, whoever it is, was in that village, would have been our very first settlers. And we can't teach this in our schools. Because let me tell you something. When you see you erase a people's sense of identity, when people don't know who they are, when people don't know what they are, it's easy for you to do anything to them. It's easy for you to take away all their power. You think if we had a society where we were teaching our history, we were teaching about the Black Caribs, we were teaching about, you know, everything Vincentian, all great writers, that Vincentians would have been in this situation? Mm-mm, mm-mm. Because guess what? If, but that's true, Carlos, we have no respect for our heritage, none, because it's not in our schools. And that respect has to be something that is taught. It has to be taught. So when you have that situation where even the schools don't teach it, the churches don't teach it anymore. I remember during elections when Travis was going around and talking about all the things under the well, people buried in the Anglican yard under the church and all these things. And many of you were shocked by these things. And I'm like, what? These are things that I learned in secondary school. When we learned them at school. And when we went down to the church for religious instructions, we learned about these things from Father Huggins. What's your father? Those of you who know Anglican church, you know what I'm talking about, Huggins. Short, Douglas fella. So when you erase a people's history, they have no idea where they're going. None. No idea whatsoever where they're going. And that's why we don't stand up and demand a proper theater, because we don't understand the richness of our oral history. We don't understand the richness of the dances that are here in this country. Every time I look at the Cape dances, and yeah, I know we kind of, well, we're simmering down, but these are things I want y'all to think about. Every time I look at the Cape dances down in the Grenadines, a sort of pain comes into my heart, because I said to myself, you know what? At some point, if the younger folks aren't keen on it, everything is going to disappear. It's going to disappear. We don't have a proper performing arts theatre in this country. And it's such a shame, because we have such a rich history. I remember growing up sitting and listening to Nancy stories from my great aunt. Many of you could do the same. And we don't have a place here for it. We don't have a place here for it. Look, you have Camilla could come out and tell you, oh, you're getting stadium, and how stadium better than the one in St. Kitts. Like, which part? Which part of what he do there could be better than the one that in Nevis or in St. Kitts? Which part? Hmm? A man take some tracks, put it down upon a goat pasture, and tell you, look, National Stadium there, and you jump up. You jump up. About 2 days ago, my daughter sitting here watching TV, and she asked the question. She said, something she was looking at Blippi. Blippi was at some water park, and she asked if we could go to a water park like that someday. And I said, well, there's nothing like that here in St. Vincent anywhere that is. So then she goes, okay, so could we take a plane and go somewhere like in the US Well, she says America. United States America where it is. And I said, that's what we'll have to do. Because the people here in this country, when Fitz brought up the idea, they thought it was something funny. They thought it was something funny. They didn't see the merit in it, but these are the same people who are trying now to catch planes, to go to countries, to go to a water park. Them is same kind of person come and do that. Because we're not thinking. We're not thinking forward. And if you know your history, if you know who you are as a people, you demand better of your government. You would hold them accountable for what they've done and for what they're not doing. That's what you'll be doing. You won't be accepting election bribes of $5 and $10 and $500 to elect thieves into office who come and rape women and rape your country. Literally. You demand more. You demand more. It's now 10:22. We have about 8 minutes left. So we'll be winding down. We'll be winding down. But if there's one thing I want y'all to remember here tonight is this. Don't give up. Do not give up. We have to learn to band together. We have to learn to see the strength that Ralph is afraid of. You think Colin and them come out, they just cut down protests because they don't understand what the protests could do? It's frightened, Ralph, frightened. Frightened why Ralph frightened. Why you see every time a protest starts, he sends out the police. Because he knows that once you see people start building up that strength on a protest line, when people start to understand that they themselves are a movement, he has no prayer in this world. Protesters frighten Ralph. That is why you see us go in parliament and talk about how he see this poster and is one of three kings out the hole in it, even though I the home in my house. Because protesters frighten Ralph. And the reason why protest frightens him is because it's about people coming together and having one goal. That's it. There won't be a protest tomorrow, but come next week, there'll be a protest. And I expect to see those of you who still believe that we're living in a democracy and who still believe that we should be fighting for democracy, I expect to see you on the protest line. And those of you who are still cowering, those of you who are still waiting to be bought out by Ralph or whomever, I'm going to ask you to focus on the bigger picture. And those of you teachers, retired teachers, who are going back into the classroom to knock bread out of people's mouths, I want you to look at the bigger picture. Those of you nurses who are accepting bribes to try to break up the nursing body, I want you to look at the bigger picture. Same thing for those of you in the public service union. I want you to look at the bigger picture because ultimately, all of us, we have to live here, right here in this country. Right here. And we can't do that with a tyrant sitting as prime minister. And not just a tyrant, a senile tyrant. Because when you see you have a tyrant, that is bad all by itself. But when you see you have a tyrant who is senile, one who can't think straight, one who's only guided by his ego, cha, you had the worst type. The worst type you could possibly have. And so come next week, I expect to see people. I expect to see everybody out there with their placard, standing up for themselves. People be like, oh, I'm not going on a protest line to stand up for no teacher. I'm not going to stand up for no nurse. No, you're not going to stand up for any teacher. You're not going to stand up for any nurse. And if you think when you come out on the protest line, that's what you're going to do, well, if the teacher or the nurse is you're standing up for is your auntie, your sister, your daughter, son, whoever, then I could see you saying you're standing up for. And in that case, I wouldn't expect you to be disgruntled about doing so. Because at the end of the day, where I see it is this. When I go out on a protest line, I stand for me. And that's why I always tell people, Rise Haruna is Rise Haruna. Kenson King is Kenson King. Luzette King is Luzette King. Patches Knights King is Patches Knights. Nikisha Williams is Nikisha. Patricia is Patricia. Adriana is Adriana. So when I go on a protest line, I stand up for me. And I stand up for my daughter. Because I want to ensure that my child grows up in a St. Vincent and the Grenadines that is free. So that's why I stand. I don't go to stand up for no nurse. I don't go to stand up for a sanitation worker. I go to stand with them, as in they're there and I am there. But I'm not standing for them because they have to stand for themselves and they could stand for somebody as well if they so desire. We stand together. And as long as we keep standing together, we'll be good. We'll be good. Hey, Madam Madam Vincy Queen, why you only reach on the live now? Eh? Why you only reach on the live now? Hey now. We have to bring on the calypso there. I know how we're gonna get the lyrics yet, but we're bringing out the calypso this year. And we have to find a nice, you know, we should do. We should bring out one on the protest. I have a friend who's a boss calypsonian. I'm sure he could write a song for us. And we're gonna mash up the town. See if we win Calypso finals. See if we ain't win Calypso finals this year. You go throw your oh you was sleeping. You were sleeping. Well, I have to go to sleep just now because in the morning I have to get oh by the way, I've started back baking. So those of you who need your cinnamon buns, please place your orders. Let me run through my price list really quickly there for you before we sign off tonight. It's already time to end. Unfortunately, geez, what is this in my inbox here now? Unfortunately, I went looking for cream cheese tonight, Juanita. I did not find any cream cheese. I am so upset. I would have to try to look tomorrow to get some cream cheese. If not, I have to send out a message tonight to everybody who's ordered to say I would have to do some sort of basic frosting. Not what I want to do, but I could do a butter frosting or something. Um, it would be okay, but not the cream cheese. And I really do like to sell my stuff with the cream cheese. Okay, so we have the rum and raisin, which is $45. Hey, behave yourself. The cinnamon, which is $30. Now all of them has cinnamon, right? So the plain cinnamon, that's $30. The almond, that is 38. The walnut is 35. The cranberry chocolate is 38. And we have a coconut chocolate that is $38. Dolores, look, me have skills, tail skills, watch. Corinne, no protest until next week. We have some regrouping to get done, some things to put in place. So protest would be next week, right? I'm gonna try to get some more flavors. My friend, she doesn't know this is yet, but she's going to start drying some fruits for me. So I want to do some seasonal stuff. You know, when mango and so forth come in, dry them, and I could use them just like I use the raisins. Yeah. So we'll get some exotic, unique cinnamon buns. Because in anything you're doing, you have to try and find your niche and you have to try to make your product a little bit different than what's already out there. Dolores, let me tell you something. And if it's one thing that my mother always encouraged from since I was a child was creativity. Creativity. And the parents, let me tell you one simple thing. You see, book sense is okay. You hear me? But you see, when I'm in a classroom, and I'm gonna end on this note, when I'm in a classroom, I always tell my students this: get a skill, get a skill. And I would give them two stories. One is when I was building my home and I had to be paying people at the end of a week. You hear me? More than what I was earning as a teacher at the end of a month. And these are people who might not have even worked for a whole week. You know? I ain't saying they ain't finished it up. They finished the job, but they finished that job in days and collected more money, tax-free money, but that they ain't going to claim nothing for say whatever than I getting in the at the end of the month. Good. And the second thing I would say to them is that when I was in UE in Trinidad and when I was in Taiwan, you see these hands saved me many occasions. I remember one time stipend didn't come through yet. Getting down to the end of the week, groceries need to be bought. And this guy called to get his hair braided. He wanted the Sean Paul style, he called it. Basically, Kane was way back. You know, Sean Paul had that hairstyle. And I told him the price was like 500 NT, which isn't really much. And he came during his lunch hour. He actually took the evening off because when he went elsewhere to get it done, it would take hours. And I finished his hair in about, say, 40 minutes or less. And because of that, he paid me double the amount. And so every time he came to do his hair, he would give me what he felt I deserved, which was far more than I would have asked for. Hey, Trinidad, I did lots. Get a skill. Learn to sew, learn to cook, learn to bake, learn to do plumbing, learn to put down tiles, learn to paint, any kind of skill. Don't just encourage your children to go to school and do the basic academics because the educational system that we have here now does not create a well-rounded, balanced child. But you know how I feel about the education system, and we're going to hear whole night tonight talking about the education system. So until next week, I bid you adieu. Thank you for being here. Be safe and enjoy the rest of your evening. Love you. Mwah.